If you're looking for a gaming convention, and I know I am, Fear the Boot RPG Podcast is running a convention just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, starting with a social mixer on Thursday, March 11th, followed by 2 days of gaming on Friday and Saturday, March 12th and March 13th. So if you're looking for an affordable con with a lot of great people, then be sure to check out what we're doing and get signed up at fearthecon.com. That's fearthecon.com.
I mean, what else is going on in March anyway?
That's why we have it in March, and we hope to see you there.
This is Ross Payton here with Roleplaying Public Radio, and this is episode 40, first time GMing.
What? Ross!
And
Where's the announcer voice? It wasn't there.
We've done this shtick enough, Tom, that it's getting kind of tired.
I just died a little inside, Ross.
Yes, Tom. I'm sure you have. Anyways, this episode is about first-time GMing. Advice for people who are about to run their first game of whatever it may be, Dungeons & Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, whatever. We're here to help you. And if you are experienced GM, maybe you can pick up a few tips anyway.
Lend your wisdom.
We try and entertain. Of course, we have two very special guests. Well, not special at all, but they're guests anyways.
Not short bus special guests.
Yeah. We have Cody and Aaron, who are going to be talking about GMing experiences, what they've seen in first-time GMing. And Aaron is a newbie.
Yes, he is a newly minted GM.
So, yes. Of course, he had to use copyrighted music when he was running the game, so we're not going to put him on the podcast. So, way to go there. Way to use
player.
that crutch, make up for your own shortcomings there, Aaron. Well, anyway.
By the way, it's like, yeah. So stop talking. Anyway, as you have probably gathered, my mic cannot be turned around a lot because in case they actually want to talk, so you're going to hear a lot of sounds of things moving around. I think it makes it real.
Yeah. Anyway, before we get into the main topic, though, before we get in there, we got a little bit of news. As you have already heard, because I put the promos before this show, we are going to be at Fear the Con, March 12th and 13th. It's from the Fear the Boot people. They are up in St. Louis, and so we're going to go up to St. Louis, and I'm going to run some games for them. We'll have that up on the Actual Play podcast, of course, and we're just going to have a whole barrel of monkeys worth of time. I don't know. Have that work out in your head or something.
Whatever was in my head was a lot better than what came out of your mouth.
I know. It was.
That's what she said.
Thanks, Cody, with the save. So
jokes about having sex with women. Yes.
So if you are in the St. Louis region, or if you are going to Fear the Con, come down and say hi to us.
You can see us, maybe even touch us.
Yes, and Tom's
truly
has a face made for radio.
Rub our heads for luck. Hey, Ross, I'm sure hoping you were planning on me driving you there.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I don't really think you are.
No, I'm not. Anyway, moving on. Some of you may not even realize, although hopefully most of you by now, all the Actual Play episodes will no longer be on this podcast feed. We've set up an entirely new podcast feed, RPPR, Actual Play. There are links all over the main website, and it's a weekly podcast, so you can get several hours of gaming goodness. We just posted Candlewick Manor, as run by the writer of Monsters and Other Childish Things, Ben Bow at Dragon Con this year, or last year, 2009. That's where the New World games are going. So if you're a fan of the Actual Plays, subscribe to it. It's on iTunes. And
yes, before you know it, I think it's been played to death. Yes, in the early games, I didn't use my fighter powers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out to me.
Or you can look ahead in future games to see how many times I can die in a call.
I don't think anyone can hear you there, Aaron. It's a directional microphone.
Okay, I'm about to turn it to Aaron so he can say something. How amusing.
So yeah.
No, I would say in the future episodes, you might want to tune in to see how many times I can die within at least one Call of Cthulhu session.
Yeah, we've already posted the Well of Sacrifices where Aaron died twice. And
we're not
two separate player characters with that, doing the same thing. So
He doesn't learn. He doesn't learn from his mistakes.
I like that episode because somebody posted a comment. I like Greg Stolze's stuff so much as a player that I bought his books that he wrote. So he was the native guide who failed occult checks and decided that the vampire bats had to be decapitated in order to kill. Anyone who had their blood drained had to be decapitated. So making his decision based on failed skill checks. That's great role playing.
It's like a metaphor for something.
It is for something, certainly. Also, finally, the RPPR main site, Role Playing Public Radio's main site, has been redesigned. We have 2 awesome, sexy new banners designed, illustrated by Ian Moody, who also did the cover and a lot of the artwork for the New World primer and the Goblin Hulk. And then Casey Green, he of Gun Show comic Horribleville, and of course he did the art for Oregon Trail 13, the video and railer, and a bunch of other great stuff.
And Extreme XP.
In fact, that's another shout out I'm going to mention later on. He has a book coming out, so if you want to see his funnest stuff, you can check that out. But anyway, so I think that's about it for the news there. Get that out of the way. Let's get into the main topic. So first time GMing. Let's. I'll throw it over to Aaron since he was the one who introduced this show topic.
Yes.
And we'll let him speak first, and then we can. Go ahead.
Okay.
So what do you have to say about it?
I don't know.
Get a little closer to the microphone. 6 to 12 inches.
Okay.
There you go.
No, can you hear me now? No, it was just a little bit of a harrowing experience being a player for so long. I did do a GMing. Tom can attest to this back. What was it, like in 2003? Where what was it? 2000, was it 2001? Okay, that was the Teenagers from Outer Space failed thing that I did with our friend Dan, who kept trying to wrest control away from me the entire night. And then I stopped for a long, long time. And I only recently restarted with Tom and our friend David, doing some very minor Mutants and Masterminds things. The big thing that just came up recently was our friend Andy came back into town and wanted me to run a game in his system, his own personal system called Alterscape, which is something we all do with a lot of our other friends.
Is that the one that's kind of like White Wolf storyteller system with the dots and everything?
In a sense, right now, we've actually changed it up a little bit where it's more reliant on like certain specific dice that you have to roll and then add up meta skills into it. So it's like a little bit different. If we ever talk to Andy or if we get some other information from him, he'll put it out. But it was really harrowing because I thought it was only going to be 3 people. Well, 2 other people showed up, their friends showed up, so it ended up a game for 5 different people.
Oh my god!
And to me, it was like sitting here, juggling fire in my hands while everybody's looking at me going,
"Bitch,
are we having fun yet? Are we going to be doing stuff?" And they had no problems with it, but it was just interesting to see how I could try to balance out what I consider to be a small game between so many people at once.
Okay. And of course, Cody, he of his own fan club, shall you remember your first time GMing?
I do remember my first time.
Was it on the beach and was there a screaming pelican involved?
I never thought this would happen to me.
My first time, strangely enough, she made me put it in her ass instead because she didn't want to get pregnant.
No,
so.
not GMing.
Oh,
I'm
sorry, GMing. Actually, my first time of GMing was, I believe, New Year's Day of 2003. I remember it specifically because... Oh, back up. Okay.
No. Closer.
Oh, closer.
Yeah.
I remember it specifically because, I was in high school at the time, and my parents always threw, this big party and had all my friends over. And we'd always been talking about playing D&D, but we never really just sat down and tried. And so... After about 2 or 3... No, actually, the night before on New Year's Eve, we're all making characters. And so it took, 4 hours because none of us knew how to do anything. And apparently we didn't know how to fucking read instructions either. And it was 3rd ed, and so 3rd ed just didn't look as good as far as, instructions to make characters, it's just not as clear as 4th ed. So, we tried to make our characters, and then on New Year's Day, we actually sat down and tried to play. And it was a relatively simple scenario. They're in the streets of a city. This girl's going to be murdered by goblins. Go save girl. It was because it was I didn't want to craft a story for that at that point because I didn't know how to run the game yet. So it was just a real quick, let's see how we can do this. And my immediate problem was one person on the team whose character name was Willie Hungwell. which I'm always a fan of now. Willie Hungwell, I gave them, standard amounts of gold and stuff like that to buy any supplies that they wanted. And Willie Hungwell ended up buying 2 10-foot ladders and a 10-foot pole and 10 feet of rope. And then he wanted to tie all of those things together to create a giant, siege weapon to hurt people. And I was like, you can't do that. That won't do anything. And you can't wield a weapon like that. That won't work. So that was an immediate first problem I had with the game.
Did he fail out of basic shop class? I mean, what the hell could you make that would, unless you dropped it on somebody from a 3rd-story building?
I think
that wouldn't hurt anybody.
What he wanted to do, I think this was his idea, was to tie the ladders together and then stand in the middle of them and then spin around in circles to try and keep them from it wouldn't work. I mean, obviously it would never damage anyone, but anyway.
Well, if they were stupid enough to stand there and be like, oh, you're swinging a big-ass ladder. Oh.
Yeah. And they're goblins anyway, so they're short enough that they're going to miss it. So. But anyway, so they, eventually they kind of, were a little bit more serious and they killed the goblins and stuff. And my favorite part was when I was first trying to get into the whole logistics of things. Hello, we're taping.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like I was getting into the whole logistics and the realism of it, and I remember Willie Hungwell was really far away from the girl, and my friend Andy Potter his character was talking to this girl, and Willie Hungwell says he goes, hey, ask her if she's a virgin. And I said to him, I was like, you realize that you're so far away from this that you're basically shouting across this street, hey, ask her if she's a virgin. And so that was essentially our first round of D&D ever, and it was okay.
I read a lot of these, first time playing D&D stories, and you'd be surprised, or you wouldn't be surprised if you're, how many of them involve sexual assault or something really inappropriate. Like, you're a paladin and you have a unicorn mount? Well, I know how to get rid of that unicorn.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's funny to me because it's like, that first session in my mind should never ever involve story, because you don't know what you're doing. It's really hard. Well, it's at least very hard to incorporate some sort of story. Even whenever I ran my first real session of let's include a story here, even then it was very ham-fisted and who knows exactly what is actually going on. So.
All right, Tom. So you remember?
I remember my first GMing experience.
All right.
It was January of 1988.
Okay.
I was 8, and I was running Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, which is the first game I ever played as well.
Same here, actually.
Yeah. And
damn you, Palladium.
I know. Back then, come on, we were young kids. We thought it was cool.
Yeah, well, we would have thought stupid. Imagine what would happen if the first game I got my hands on was World of Cinnabar, or yours.
I wouldn't be friends with you.
I would be in an insane asylum.
Or president.
Yeah, or president.
But anyway, the scenario that was, there were 5 players, and they were playing all 4 of the Turtles, and one was playing Casey Jones. I, of course, am 8 years old, and I'm highly influenced by movies, so what it was, a Terminator had come back in through time to kill April O'Neil, who was the mother of the future leader of the Resistance.
That's actually surprisingly good for your first time GMing.
8-year-old.
Yeah, that's really good.
So, instead of the first fight happening in Tech Nor, it took place in her little antique shop, which demolished the place.
Right.
And it pretty much actually followed. They were all arrested and sent to a police station. So there were 4 mutant turtles.
You were a dick.
I was. And the thing is, all of them had seen the movie too. They were 6 to 9 years old.
Yeah.
They had all seen the movie, so they knew what was coming. And sure enough, he comes barreling through with a car and starts shooting the place up.
Yeah.
Pretty much follows the movie verbatim until they got to the computer, the factory at the end. To which actually the Terminator killed April O'Neil. He was trying to kill her, and I had one of those moments where I rolled lots of really good rolls, and the Terminator crushed her head.
People think I'm a killer GM, man. Those people never played again.
The thing was, they requested, which then would then be the second time I ran this. They requested, all right. Afterwards, the game pretty much ended there. They said, okay, you're running this next time, but we want to be fighting in the future, in the post-nuclear future, fighting the Terminators as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So you were using the movie versions of the TMET, where they wouldn't kill or drink beer or anything like that, not unlike the...
But these were still 6 to 9-year-olds. So yes, there was much drinking, there was much drugs, there was much fornication. Oh no, they... in fact, the guy playing Casey actually... He wanted to at one point in the game, he wanted to have sex with April. It's like, I'm the father of the future leader.
Wow.
Corruptible.
Though the young children are not innocent. That is what I have determined from that.
So, did any of them become role players after that, or were they all?
They all did actually.
Okay.
We continued playing until I finally moved back to I moved away briefly in 89. No. Yeah,
okay. Well,
we gamed for many years still.
Nice.
Your favorite,
your
first one, Ross. Come on.
I honestly don't remember exactly. I do remember one of the first times, if not the first. I was actually TMET, and it was like for 1 or 2 people, but it was at like indoor recess, like it was raining outdoors, and I had the book, so I pulled it out, and I didn't have any dice. So it's like, you're Leonardo, and some foot attack. What do you do?
Go.
I attack them. Yeah, you kill some. And I was like, I don't have a plan. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And
did you have fun?
It was actually kind of embarrassed because I didn't have dice. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do without dice? Wait, no, I got the D6s from the Monopoly. I was like, you can roll damage. And sadly, I think the first full game, it was just AD&D 2nd edition. Like I got it used at a bookstore for like a few bucks, and it was kind of like kill orcs. You got the random treasure, a belt of gender changing, and okay.
You have a vagina.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty immature. I honestly don't remember the specifics beyond that. So, so yeah, grade school was kind of weird like that. I also played a lot of Rifts and Palladium games, so the games were all terrible to just very, very bad. So yeah, they all kind of blur together in my head. So, anyways, I think the thing is we kind of have a wide range from being too nervous to being too killer or being too linear. So, I think overall the key to first timing GMing is not being there's a sort of the right level of confidence, and in the game there's at one extreme too little confidence where you let players run rampant over you and you don't know what to do and you're just paralyzed with fear. And the other extreme, you're like, this is my story. You're just listening to me tell a story.
I am solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I had worried about initially in this last game that I played. Thankfully, though, it was with all really good friends, so they were just willing to hear the story and interact with it more or less. Which actually one of the funnier things that happened was the whole story involved nanite monsters, and one of the our friends Dylan, his character actually had nanite enhanced blood and other abilities. So I was sitting here going like, all right, you really want to put those powers to this? Let's see how I can screw you over on this one.
Well, it's kind of your experience is kind of interesting because you're running for people who are already experienced role players.
Yeah.
So you kind of had like people who are more supportive.
Yeah,
of you.
in a support base.
Like Cody and Tom, everyone was new. Like you just had the book and you're like, hey, let's do this.
Yeah, and in my case right now, I've been playing for years now, and it's the kind of the confident group, confidant group.
So you could trust the other people not to like, I'm going to be hung well. The fire. Hey, are you a virgin?
Well, and it actually, and I was saying that in this case, it was interesting because Dylan took a more interesting route because we do have a system where we can either let something good or bad happen, and depending on the die size that they choose, they get either good, better experience or a worse consequence. In Dylan's instance. he chose a D20 bad, got an 11, so all of his nanite powers were more or less frozen, and he was put into this nanite husk state where he lost most of his abilities, but kind of gained some armor and other stuff. So
right. So I guess the key is like, what would you tell people, the first time or who really knew GMing, like Cody?
Well, I think one thing is that it's like you said is Aaron kind of had it easy because he has a whole lot of people that kind of can guide him along. But also, I think that a first-time GM that has first-time players also is kind of has some advantages too.
Right.
In a way.
Lower expectations.
Yeah, lower expectations, and a lot of people are just kind of. You all sort of fail together, and you keep and you all sort of just are trying to figure out like how the fuck do we play this game, and it's sort of like everyone's in the deep end of the pool together at one time, you know. But the thing also is that because I just remember being a GM, I thought to myself, well, I don't really know all the rules to everything, so I'm just gonna make up shit.
Right.
And so,
which is really the key of good GMing. So
yeah,
you kind of stumble on it.
Yeah, because I would just do things like, well, I don't know how to create this puzzle or something like that. So I would just fucking make it up as I went along. It's like I had no idea what the rules said because I just didn't read the DM guide. I just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
homework.
Yeah. Essentially, I felt it was like I was like, all I need is a monster manual, and all they need is a player's manual. And it was so funny too because like those first few sessions, it was me and 4 people. And we only had one player handbook, and so we all had to pass them around to everybody. And of course, that was in the days where you didn't have powers or anything like that. And so, and no one on the team was a wizard anyway. And so it was like they were all just a bunch of fighters and stuff like that. So
thank God for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy. Like I attack you. You attacking me, and what'd you roll?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably made combat pretty quick.
But and then eventually, that was my friend Andy and my friend Jared and Jessica, as we all know and love her. Back when Jessica was that was back when she was a paladin and she refused to do good things, because she just whatever she is, she has to be the exact opposite, and I don't know why, but anyway, and then Willie Hungwell, he stopped playing with us for a little while because he was actually like a basketball star and played for our high school basketball team. And then once basketball season was over, he could start playing with us again. And he goes, "Oh, I don't want to be that character because I don't really like that class. I'm going to be a wizard now." I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And he goes, "All right, his name's going to be Misa Hungwell." God damn it. It's like, and we were starting to get that was about like the 5th session I remember running, and we were kind of starting to get a good flow going, and then he came in with Misa Hungwell, and I will never ever forget, there's this big force field that they're trapped behind, and the only way they can get through it is like one person has an item that allows them to get past it or something. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but essentially Misa Hungwell, he couldn't do anything, and it gets to his character, and then he's on this one square, and then he ends up, I was like, "Okay, where do you want to move?" And he goes, "Okay," and then he just moves in a circle, and then he stops. He goes, "All right, I'm done." I'm like, "You fucking dick! You're just wasting all of our time." But that was just, it's funny because then no one had any expectations, and I didn't really do any like individual character storylines. It was very sophomoric in the way that everyone was just sort of, they were just characters in a choose your own adventure novel. It's like they weren't really felt like they didn't have any wants or desires or needs. They didn't have any family. They were all just, blank faced, average adventurers. And so it was, it wasn't real great gaming by any means, but God damn it, we got it done.
Exactly. So, aside from being your own first experiences GMing, like from other new GMs, like as a player, or what kind of experiences do you have for that, or Tom, anything?
Well, as for being a player for a new GM, right over here.
Yeah, that's true.
I was actually in his very first game back in 01.
Oh yeah.
And let me tell you, Of things I'd rather do than play in that game is be smashing the balls repeatedly with a piece of heavy mining equipment.
B-rape.
Now, that wasn't his fault. That was actually the fault of another player, but I'm not going to get into that.
Okay.
But the most recent one...
I'll explain that problem in a second.
Okay.
It doesn't really need to be explained. It's
Is it Dan? Or
Yeah, it's Dan.
Okay.
It's a Dan story.
So, anyway... Now, the last one he
Not
did...
the Dan of the Warlock, a different Dan.
Yes, a different Dan.
Not our Dan?
Not our
No,
Dan.
no.
Our Dan's awesome.
Oh, okay.
We
I was
like-
gonna
we
say,
like
I
our
can't believe
Dan.
Our Dan would do anything.
Yeah.
This is a Dan from the past that he did.
From high school, yeah.
Not
yeah.
Big Bear Dan.
No,
No.
Big Bear Dan. No.
No.
But
Fuzzy
anyway,
Dan.
no. This last game he did, it was just me and our friend David. So it was just two players who we've gamed together for years. So we're very comfortable around just doing games with each other. And David and I were very supportive. And we're like, all right, and we did have to do it several times. No, you're doing fine. Just keep going. And that was a big problem. The biggest problem, I think, gaming as long as he did with us.
Yeah.
He's picked up a lot of all the basics just from playing, but
Yeah.
the thing is, though, you're still kind of terrified when it comes to running shit because you don't think you're doing a good job or you're not sure.
Yeah. So what do you say?
Rebuttal?
Yes, and the rebuttal.
No, and it's not even a rebuttal. It's like, yeah, God damn it,
Point
Tom.
counterpoint.
You're gonna learn that I
You're
cry in
full
my
of
bed
horse
every
shit.
night.
More than I needed to know.
No,
Meaning the wet dreams.
that's true.
Oh yeah, Jason's here now.
Yeah. No, he's absolutely right. It's just a confidence, mainly because of ongoing stories. Because I can tell you, the first thing we did was using Mutants and Masterminds to create a Doctor Who setting. Since I've been watching the 2005 revival from here on in, and I don't care what anybody thinks. I like it.
Cody, for the listeners at home, was making a stroking motion as though he were masturbating.
He's not a method actor.
He is not a
fine.
method
And actually,
actor.
Tom can back me up on this. Is that I used the Doctor as an extraneous character. He was back away from most of the action all the time. So,
Yes, yes.
in any case,
Daleks exterminate, et cetera,
I know.
et cetera.
but in any case,
Scarves.
no. But he's actually right. It's just mostly nervous about the storyline being decent to where the storyline where they you choked to death over there. The storyline being decent enough where they're having entertaining, make sure I'm keeping to the rules system because I was new to Mutants and Masterminds and trying to make sure it was okay. And that's mainly all it was. And thankfully, I had this jackass over here and the other jackass that we play with. It's like sitting here going, "Yeah, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. No, we're having fun with this. If we not, we'd be sitting here sleeping." So
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, and trust me, that's another great thing about friends is they will honestly tell you what they think.
Yeah, actually, that brings up a good point, though. There's this. I think one of the first real hurdles for a GM is figuring out that line between friendship and fairness in a game, because, like, especially when you're starting out, there's a point where, like, oh, well, I'm going to dick his character over with this move, or like he jumped into a pit that he couldn't see the bottom of and expects to live. It's like, and I know it's full of punji steaks that are dabbed with kobold shit. So I could tell him his character is dead, but then he'll be pissed at me in real life. So what did you do? How did you handle that challenge?
I think, like, as far as like friendship goes, I think we all sort of had this mutual understanding that I mean, anything that happened to their characters in the game, I mean, it was never any offense.
Right.
The one time that I fucked over a player, I've already talked about this before with a B-rape story. He just stopped playing with us. He was so upset with what happened. He quit playing after that point.
Wait, I thought that was Jessica who suffered.
No, Jessica wasn't B-raped.
Oh, okay,
That was
somebody
that
else.
was my friend Chris. Chris was
okay.
B-raped, and it was because we B-raped him. He just said that he's just stopped playing with us, and
Right. And that's a risk you have to do.
yeah. I never once was punishing him. I was really trying to make his character be kind of haunted by his situation and try to make him realize consequences in a game. Like, I was never ever I was never malicious about it, and he didn't take it like that. He took that I was trying to humiliate him or something like that. But Jessica is a perfect example of someone who sees friendship as like a kind of like she tries to use that to her advantage.
Right.
Because I mean, I was living with her at the time, and we were playing and we played like Mutants and Masterminds, or we would play like D&D or something, and it was like anytime she wanted something in a game, like she would kind of throw a little hissy fit if I didn't give it to her.
Right.
And she would get mad. She would just get like outright mad. And it was really strange because it was like I have no clue why you're getting mad at me for this. It's such a stupid thing to get mad about because it's a fucking game, you know. But she would outright just get very, very huffy and upset about things, and but none of my other friends did.
Well, so how did you handle the Jessica hissy fits when she couldn't, when she blurred the lines, basically?
With her, it was like you just had to ignore her and
okay.
just stick to your guns. I mean, every once in a while I threw her a bone on a few things, like I would just give her a thing every once in a while to kind of make her happy. I mean, you want to still keep your players happy no matter what, because if you don't, then you're never going to fucking GM again. You're not going to have anybody to play with.
That is true.
And so you kind of have to throw them a bone every once in a while. And so I'll never forget. I think I've talked about this before in the Bad Player episode, but I'll just give a brief overview. There was just one particular setting where they were like raiding this camp during my He-Man game, and all of these like warriors start running out and stuff, and she's right there in the middle of battle, and I was really wanting her to take charge and go through and just plow through the ranks and start fighting and stuff like that, and she did not want to do that. She wanted to come up with this elaborate plan that there's no possible way it would have worked. Long story short. And I'll never forget, I will never ever forget this, and this is the worst experience I've had in GMing, is she said, she goes, well, I want to do this. I go, well, you can't, it's a physical impossibility. You can't do that. And then she goes, well, fine. Someone just stabs me and I die. Are you happy? And she started, like, she got teary-eyed and it looked like she was going to start crying. And I was just like, I've never, in my however fucking many games I've played here, I've never been so upset, and I've never seen anybody so upset here that would start to cry. That would start to cry, maybe beat the shit out of each other, but never start to cry. But,
crying in Dungeons and Dragons?
You'll hear about the fight later on, guys. We haven't gotten to those actual plays yet. It gets good.
There's several of them. We've hinted at them before.
But
I think the next episode is the one that starts.
You know, it's like I mean, she was very, very upset. She was very just wanted to cry, and so at that point, what I ended up doing is I offered her another solution instead, this other implausible solution. I think where she was able to use her disguise kit, which was the thing that she really loved more than anything. And so, and then what I ended up doing by the end of the game is she was basically the one that saved everybody's life anyway. But it was like I was trying to get her to the big part that I wanted her to get to, but she couldn't get past this one little skill challenge that was, giving her just a little hissy fit. So,
okay.
So
in general, it's better to stick to your guns, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's best to stick to your guns, and then every once in a while, just throw them something that, I mean, if someone says, "Hey, I really want to make a steam-powered robot in this game," then just let them have the ability to make a steam-powered fucking robot once in a while.
Is that a hint?
Yes, it is. I want a goddamn steam-powered robot. I think they're awesome.
If you want to, I can do a game for that.
I know.
Well, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I want to earn it though.
Oh well, that's an entirely different story.
I've earned it.
Well, let's trust. Having a good group as your first GM, that can be like a soothing cream.
Yeah.
It really can, because otherwise, because if you don't have it, it can be a royal ass
That
fuck.
rash will spread.
Classy.
We always are.
Yeah. So, in general, I think the thing is, if you have friends who are in a game and they're trying to manipulate you for the game, I mean, what kind of friends are they in the first place to be such douches to? Well, I mean, would you, if you were playing, chess or Go or something, or Go Fish or whatever, would you like, hey, can I have an extra queen because I'm an awesome friend or something? Like, no, fuck you, it's chess. Goddamn. Respect the rules of the goddamn. Oh, can I take that move back? You're going to checkmate me. You can't. I'm your friend. Come on.
I'll say the first GMing, it's a totally different thing when you're actually running it for people you don't know.
Oh, yeah?
That can be a totally different
convention
thing.
games. Yeah, we've talked about that. You've never run a game at a convention. Cody is not. Okay. I am.
I've never been to a convention either.
Well, you've been to VisionCon. Really?
Nope.
Not even to the dealer room? Really?
Yeah, it's in a couple weeks.
No, it's next week.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, VisionCon is next week. Like
They bumped it up from last year.
No, last year it was in January as well.
Was it? I barely went.
Is it considered a comic book convention?
That's what it says on the little thing I got in the mail today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really? Nice.
It's that and slash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, it is going live.
How much did you get in?
So
Comic thing?
To VisionCon.
Oh, VisionCon?
So I think we kind of got the any last points before we totally go off topic about VisionCon or anything?
I think if it's gonna be your first time, then you probably want to do it with people you know.
But don't.
Well,
You know where they've been.
That's perfect for virginity too.
It's for all kinds of things. You know?
People who care about you
Yeah.
and will treat you
You
right.
want to go to Key Party or something? I mean, what?
Give you a tug.
So don't have too much control. It's not just your story; it's for everyone else's.
And, so you stroke the players stroke you, and it's one big stroke job.
Yeah. Don't be totally paralyzed with fear like Aaron, and instead just go for the happy medium.
I don't think we really touched on the idea of control though either.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we talked about that enough. Is the idea that that you as a GM, yeah, you need to be in control. You need to have a rough outline for plots and things, but you need to make sure that your players have. I mean, they need to really develop their own personalities. Give them chances to do that with little plot hooks and things like that. But without it, then it's it's boring. It's like reading a book, or something like that. So, or playing a book. So,
Are there any times when you played under new GM and you saw this, like the time? I know the Star Wars game, but aside from the Star Wars game, Tom and Aaron raised their hands. So, yeah, but
like a GM that's like led me around by the nose or something like that. I can't really think of any off of the top of my head that have done that. I've usually had pretty good GMs that kind of are, pretty open about letting you kind of do what you want. But I know that Tom and Aaron have some. So
yeah.
No, in my experience, the two DMs that or GMs in this case, they would go for it. Dan, I won't get into that because that's just a whole mess load of stories. That
can of worms.
The only one I can actually think of, and Tom may be looking at this, is David, and in relation to his Harry Potter World game that we did. Because
that's just horrible already.
why did you play it?
Well, the initial thought of Tom and mine was that we had was, hey, we get to fuck around in the Harry Potter universe, mainly the Draco Malfoy. It's
something
time
that
for your
sounds
2
fun
o'clock
to me
meeting.
anyway.
We thought it would be a fun way to do it, but
Well, you were wrong.
What it turned into most of the time was Tom getting preferential treatment to every whim of his character, and my character getting dumped on in every which way. I had like every hex that happened to me and other stuff. So it's like David just wanted to screw around.
Wow, it's
Now,
like
let's also be clear about another thing. You were the one that wanted to build a Keyblade.
Okay, Aaron, I'm sorry, Aaron. You deserve everything horrible that happened to you. I'm probably going to take it out on your next Call of Cthulhu character.
and the linking book from Myst.
Wow.
Keyblades are kind of cool though.
No. There.
Especially if it unlocks the greatest treasure in all the land.
Minnie Mouse's vagina.
That was in the Disney vault, baby.
Minnie is a whore.
So, any other last thoughts on the subject? I mean, Cody finished. Aaron,
Don't be
Tom?
afraid if
All
you
right.
everyone fucks up once in a while.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, and it's better to do with other inexperienced people rather than or not, because they have lowered expectations.
I think as a final thought, I mean, it's sort of like stand-up comedy in a way, because I mean, with all the improvisation that's involved in it and things in delivery, and planning, it's sort of like stand-up comedy in that you have to bomb a couple of times before you get good. I mean,
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you bomb, it's no big deal. It's just you have to learn from your mistakes and move on, and sit back and evaluate. Well, what worked tonight, what didn't, and if you have good players, then you can ask them. But if you have first-time players, probably don't. So
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, that's probably the single best point. It's not how many times you fail, it's how many times you get back up. So just keep at it, and if you enjoy it, even a little bit the first time, you should keep going till your players all leave or shoot you in the face for being a horrible GM. Yeah, or B-rape.
B-rape.
Just keep B-raping them.
We got that B-rape.
Good callback. So we'll be back in a bit with a letter from Tom and shout-outs, anecdotes, and all kinds of fun stuff. All right.
Don't do that voice.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by the Nerdbound Podcast. Have you recently been forced to quarter U.S. troops? Were you aware that as a citizen of the United States of America, this is strictly prohibited by the Third Amendment in the Bill of Rights? It's unconstitutional. You should fight for your rights and stop quartering U.S. troops. Also, you should listen to the Nerdbound Podcast, because you would have known that weeks ago. So if you'd like to learn more about your rights as an American citizen, and hear a bunch of dudes play Dungeons & Dragons and other RPGs, then subscribe to the Nerdbound Podcast on iTunes, or go to www.nerdbound.com, where you can find convenient information about all of our episodes.
The reasons why people play D&D are numerous, and to be truthful, have been exhaustively covered in our previous episodes. And if you've just stopped by our site and clicked on this episode first, then shame on you. There is no hidden Easter egg or secret unlockable for jumping in on a later episode. Go back and listen from episode 1 like a big boy. Having said that, there is one reason for playing D&D that just happened to reach into my psyche and start rattling my thorax. That reason is as follows: because the D&D world is better than my own. Now, I can see the rationale behind that sentiment. It's easy to see how a world of magic and adventure would be more exciting than your drab David Fincher-esque 9-to-5 hell. But it's bullshit, and I can prove it with my usual flawless logic. My first point begins with another gripe I have. Last weekend, the History Channel ran a marathon about Nostradamus and the end of the world. I love how these survivalist nutjobs tell you what they're going to do when 90% of the population is killed. What's the point? Play those odds, chances are that you're going to die. It's the same thing in D&D. Odds are, if you were living in the D&D world, it's most likely that you would be one of the huddled masses of non-leveled peasant, eking out a meager living, surrounded by cosmic magics that you will never wield. You'll work from sunup to sundown, completely at the mercy of demons, beasts, monsters, and sociopathic adventurers who primarily see you as worth about 10 XP. Even if you manage to luck out and live in some magical metropolis on another plane, all you'll be is potential monster bait, another body to show the adventurers how dangerous the mission will be. Now let's say that you luck out, or you've performed the necessary coital activities on the deity of your choice. You are now a leveled adventurer, one of the beautiful people of the D&D world. You've got it made now, don't you? Well, no. Think about it. Your career is to risk life and limb trekking across the world looking for old underground places to loot and monsters to kill. And that's it. That is all you will do forever. Why? Because you will always be trying to get stronger and more powerful so you can go loot bigger underground places and kill bigger and badder monsters. Remember that old anti-drug PSA? I buy Coke so I can work harder, so I can earn more money, so I can buy more Coke. That will be your eternal circle jerk. And let's say you make it to an epic level, one of the most powerful beings on the material plane. So what? There will always be something more powerful. Eventually, a new sourcebook will come out, and you'll be relegated back to the level of wannabe super being. The final reason is pain. Think about the last time you cut yourself, or sprained a wrist. Hurt like hell, didn't it? Those injuries were minor, the equivalent of getting hit for 3 or 4 hit points. Imagine the pain that will follow being sliced, diced, immolated, constricted, envenomated, and eviscerated by hordes of drooling, bloodthirsty creatures. It will hurt more than jumping off a brick wall onto a bicycle ass first that has the seat missing. Not that I've ever done that. So the next time you find yourself sitting at your cubicle and your boss comes over to chew you out for not filing a form correctly, or because you came in dressed casual rather than business casual, take heart. Be thankful that it's your boss and not some pit fiend impaling you with his +5 demon cock of fiery penetration as he screams, "I will put my evil in you." Keep the perspective of your life clear, and you will do well.
And we're back. That was a great letter, Tom. Very motivational, I have to
Was
say.
it? Yeah, I thought so.
So, of course, we now have our little shout-outs, and I guess our guests can give their shout-outs first. Aaron, do you want to talk about your little shout-outs there, your little things you want to shout out to?
I only have one
Yeah.
for this, and it's mainly just because of a joyous thing that happened.
It's not him getting laid.
No.
Wow, Tom.
Jeez.
What? You are. Yeah.
No. Actually,
King asshole.
this is very minor for Tom and our friendship. So
Yeah.
that should say it. No. Daybreakers, which Ross, Tom, and myself went to go see last week, and all I
Yeah.
can say is fucking awesome. We have vampires.
It's fun. It's
So it was
gory.
it was an excellent
I wouldn't
story.
say awesome, but you know.
No, yeah, actually, it's the things I know. It's an excellent story, good acting, interesting blend of traditional vampire lore and the more common like scientific explanation that they're doing in like Underworld and stuff. So
It's directed by the same guys who did Undead back in 2003, the Australian zombie film. So if you want to see what they're doing with an actual budget, it'd be interesting to watch. It's fun. You know, I ran a game all flesh must be eaten based on
good,
the premise. So.
It's like good bloody fun, and also I have to say this: Willem Dafoe fights vampires with crossbows and vintage cards. That's all you need to know.
All right, fair enough. Cody.
Well, while we're on the topic of movies, there's this little movie that it's really under the radar. And so,
art film.
Yeah,
Not very wide release.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Now it came out a little while back. It's called I think it's called Gladiator, and it's starring this up and coming actor. I think his name's Russell. It's like Russell something.
Bird.
It's a bird or something like that. But it's no one's talking about this movie, and they really fucking should, because this movie's brilliant. So I just want to bring that up because that's just one of my many shout-outs. Next is Team Conan. I'm sure everyone knows about all the shit
Except
that's going
our
on.
foreign listeners.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
which we
Okay.
have
Yeah.
many.
That's true.
In Poland
And Brazil.
and Brazil.
I won't go into the full
the
deal
UK.
because
Finland.
the American media is just
Germany.
having a field day with it anyway. So, but anyway, support Team Conan. You can get on the internet and type in "I'm with Coco," and you can find like all sorts of things, and just Team Conan on Facebook, and support Conan O'Brien because he's just amazing. I had another shout out. Oh yeah,
Gotham Knight.
yeah,
Gotham City.
Gotham. There's a book that I'm editing. It's about the '60s Batman TV series. If anybody has seen that,
Adam West.
yeah, the Adam
He
West
of Family Guy fame.
Yeah,
Batman.
it's just fantastic. It's when I say fantastic, it's not a great series, but the book is actually absolutely
It's not out yet,
fantastic.
though.
It's not out yet.
It hasn't even
It should
you're
be.
the first one talking about it.
I know. I'm now. This really is under the radar then. So
Yeah, it is.
But it should be coming out late summer, early fall. You can go to sequart.com.
Yeah, well, I'll have a link up to the next
you'll
one.
post a link.
Sequart, they do small press academic books about comics,
Yeah,
right?
They did one. It's
They're doing a documentary about Grant Morrison.
Yeah, they had one They had one Morrison book called Grant Morrison: The Early Years, and then they have another one coming out that's called Our Sentence Is Up, and it's about the Invisibles. And I edited that book too, and it's really fucking great. And then they're having a documentary coming out. They also have a Legion of Superheroes book and an X-Men book.
Right.
All sorts
So
of
if you
stuff.
want to read critical academic thinking literature about funny books,
And it's fucking brilliant too.
Yeah.
It's a really great group, so check that out.
all right. I've got a couple. One is another movie called Gomorrah. It's a 2008 Italian film about the Neapolitan mafia, the Camorra, as they're called, and it's a great epic movie about all these people who are being crushed by the crime syndicates, and it's on Netflix. And if you have the View It Now thing, like on the 360, if you want to watch it on the PC, you could just watch it for free streaming. So that's cool. Yeah. And Cody's reading something that's quite amusing.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave that as another surprise. Think Doom Repercussions of Evil, but worse.
Or better, depending on how you look at it.
Ebony Ravenwing Dimension. That's all I'm going to... For those of you who are internet savvy, might recognize that. Then I'm going to mention Rad Anthem, a awesome music video and song. What happens when Jack in the Box and Burger King, Colonel, and the clown from McDonald's, Ronald McDonald, yeah, that guy. What happens when they go out on a night on the town? It's pretty fucking awesome is what it is. And it's a good song, too. And then finally, Casey Green. He has a book coming out. A collection of his Horribleville comics. His earlier autobiographical comics, kind of semi-autobiographical. But they are quite funny. Books coming out February 16th. So buy it now. Or pre-order it now. You can get a sketch signature thingy on it. So, yeah. Tom, what you got?
I just got one. It's a box set I recently received called Faulty Towers, British comedy series.
Yeah.
Starring John Cleese.
He of Monty Python.
We who are about to laugh salute you.
Yes.
If you don't like Monty Python, then you're dead to me.
Then
so
how can you be role playing? I mean, I don't get it. I don't see how those things are compatible. I honestly don't.
Ross, don't.
I'm saying it's.
So I will just
the
say
Venn
yes.
diagram is
it's
really
very
fucked
good.
up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's very good. You should purchase it. Yes.
Okay. Very good. And of course, finally, we have anecdotes. Now, first we have one from let's see here.
Ross prepared
Jeff?
for this.
Yeah. He just sent it today, actually. Actually, no, yesterday. Hi, Ross and Tom. My name is Jeff, and I'm a fan of the show and the actual plays. They help during the long, boring days making dreams come true. He works for a video game company. So,
Mother of God.
Anyways, I have for you a game anecdote about a vampire LARP game I played in when I was at university more than a decade ago that lasted 3 years. And before I begin, I'm telling you right now that by some divine intervention, it was not one of those vampire LARP games with weirdos and guys with eyeliners. In all those years, there were only 2 goths who played with us, and they were both of the hot girl variety. So it was okay. Most of the other players were theater geeks, frustrated science geeks, and geeks with at least a modicum of skill points in the people skills. At the peak, there were 30 players, 17 men, 13 women. Damn French Canadians, they get all the good role players.
Damn you.
Anyways, as the game for itself is in the world of darkness of the late 90s, before all the apocalypse stuff, it was situated in Trois-Rivières, a city in Canada, situated right between Quebec City.
Yeah. Canada?
Did you just
Really, Ross? Canada?
Canada, yeah. Canada, yeah. It was a joke, kind of the French pronunciation.
No.
Yeah. Montreal, controlled by the Sabbath.
Sabbat.
Well, he says Sabbath.
Well, I have to correct you because it's fun.
Yeah. The premise of it, we were Camarilla trying to gain control of the city and build an avant-post for the Camarilla, I guess a beachhead or something, I don't know. Also, the storyteller made it that the first player that joined the games had good background stories were to play elders, while the prince was played by the storyteller's boyfriend as an NPC. There were 7 of us that got to be elders. My character was Peter Hobenstoffen, Franco-German Tremere Inquisitor with a paranoid derangement, which I played on a lot. So during the first year of play, the game swelled to about 20 people. Main focus was mostly political infighting between the elders, the other players allying themselves with the main alliance of elders, defending the territory against Sabbat and werewolf infestations. At the time, succubus demon walked around in the asylum. I was part of an alliance with Ventru, Elder, and Gangrels. Minor members were only the other Ventru, Malkavian scientists, Giovanni, Toreadors. Other alliances were the Savages, Gangrel, Bruja, all the other Gangrels and Bruja in the city, and the Weirdos, the old clan Chamise, La Sombra, and a bunch of Nosferatu and a Toreador. So during the game, I was composing journal entries as the paranoid Pete after each game and sending them to the storyteller with my actions that my character was doing during the week. So often enough, the storyteller was telling me how much she appreciated my journal entries each week, and I was the only player to do so, but I never got any bonus XP or anything. I continued to write the entries because I was having fun. So comes in the last session of the school session of the semester, probably, I guess. Game begins, chilling at an asylum. The prince is there passing judgment and stuff when suddenly come in 10 guys dressed up in full military gear, friends of the storyteller and the other people that would join in at the next year, with water pistols and plastic katanas, and started attacking in-game. So we started having a large fight, but the hunters were able to kill the prince and all the minor members of my alliance. The only members left were me, the Ventru, and the Gangrel Elder. So the immediately starts this, who's taking over now that the prince is dead? And suddenly our gangrel announces that he's betraying us and kills the Venture in a single round of combat. Then the weirdos announce that they're really moles in the game really for the Sabbath. I'm all alone, in shock, and there was a 3-way fight. A lot of them have speed, strength, or toughness, and are combat monsters, which I'm not. Screw the masquerade. I start hurling fireballs, because I'm a Tremere, but they quickly gang up on me and kill me. So the storyteller comes up to me and says, and then you wake up. And everybody starts laughing. My jaw dropped. They were all in it. The storyteller used my journal entries as a paranoid guy to create the last game, told everyone what they had to do, and they all played their part to make it true. So in those entries, I feared that the gangrel would betray us, that the prince was too weak, there'd be more chaos. And so everyone had a lot of fun. We stayed late drinking beers and laughing. The most awesome game ever. So basically, the entire game was just this one vampire having a hallucination about what would happen to him if everyone was going to betray him. So prove it is possible to have a fun vampire LARP without uncomfortable weirdos, and a fun game session that was all a dream scene. So keep up the good work on the podcast and the actual play. The New World stuff is really fun to listen to. So
do you know Tyler Durden?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the French-Canadian pronunciation of that. I don't know what you would say that. There you go. Thank you, Coder. Yeah, it's all European. Well, French-Canadian, that's not really. Finally, it's all foreignese. What the hell? I'm American. But before we end, we need to explain one thing. I know we bring it up in the actual plays a lot, and we've explained it on the forums, but there's sort of an in-joke, a catchphrase that we use a lot, and we never recorded that particular game where it started. It's called, there are monsters in the school, Tom, and we've just gone and used it, and I can't just slipped my mind that we never explained it to you, the listener. So, Cody, do you want to explain it?
Yes, I'd be more than happy to. This was back when we were playing Monsters and Other Childish Things. And I played a character who, monsters, you all have a pet monster. And to establish the ridiculousness of it, my monster was this, man-sized alligator in a trench coat that cried like cream cheese tears, and he could turn into a lunchbox. So, the suspension of disbelief is pretty well. It's fucking magic. It can do anything. Anything can happen. So, we had this one particular session where there was a ghost that we had to try to get them on to the next world and stuff. And I had gone back to the school, and everyone else had gone to this house that was nearby in the suburbs, and they were being haunted by this ghost, and I apparently saw the ghost as well, and it ran down to this boiler room, and I was able to phase through this wall and go down and try and talk to it and stuff. Long story short, at the end of the game, Ross was doing his typical, does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything like that? And someone said, well, how is it that there was a ghost at this house in the suburbs, but it was also in the school? And the real reason is because Ross forgot that I had the ability to phase, and he was just trying to get me into the story again, which goes back to the whole idea of GMing and coming up with stuff on the fly, and the difference between a veteran GM and a rookie GM and stuff like that. But Ross, being the expert GM he is, decided to bullshit his way through it and say, "Oh, well, it just so happens that the spirit world is very strange, and he was tied to the school, and whatever ham-fisted jack-off thing that he tried to say." And Tom wouldn't let it go for the fucking life of him. Tom just was like, no, that doesn't make sense because of this and this and this. And I finally turned to him and I said to him, I was like, Tom, there's monsters in the school. I was like, there's monsters in the school, Tom. Who cares? And then at that point, everyone in the group just kind of laughed it off, and we all realized, that's our now. And that was our catchphrase from then on. For any time that you need to suspend your disbelief, you just say, well, there's just monsters in the fucking school, Tom. It's like, it goes back to D&D. It's like we all pick apart these stupid little things like, oh, I don't think that this character could do this, or I don't think they could do this. Like, we're fighting things that can turn you into stone and have 90 eyes in their brain. It's like, suspend your fucking disbelief. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Or the kind of people who watch Star Trek and Star Wars and be like, oh, well, in real life, the physics of this totally wouldn't work at all. Or if Batman shot his grapple gun while he's falling down a skyscraper, it would wrench his arm out of the socket.
Yeah, exactly. It's like You just have to.
You're part of the
Jason.
problem, Jason.
But it just
Embrace your inner child.
it was funny too because everyone else wanted to. Like at first we were going to try and say, oh, well, there's monsters in the school Sam or there's monsters in the school Katie. But I go, no matter what it is, whoever we're talking to, we always end it with Tom's name. It will always end with Tom's name. There's always monsters in the school Tom. Even if Tom isn't here, it's always there's monsters in the school Tom. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, Tom, you and
So, yes, when human civilization is wiped away and whatever follows us is now walking our ruins, they will know the phrase, there are monsters in the school, Tom. I will be remembered forever.
Yes, and on that note, we will end this episode of Role Playing Public Radio, and we'll see you next time.